What is up, ladies and gentlemen? To another episode of Tampa Bay Q&A. So excited to be with y'all. And we, of course, have the hostess with the mostest who has got the internet look of shame on her face already.
It makes no sense. I do not have internet issues all day long until it's time to go live. And then
it happens. I mean, last week I lost internet. What ultimately we found out is they cut the main line to our entire neighborhood. So that's what ended up happening here. But y'all, welcome. We're not here to talk about the internet tonight. Welcome to Tampa Bay Q&A. If this is your first time joining us, we invite you to the conversation. All right. So we try to make this as interactive as possible. We are going to talk about hurricanes because guess what? June 1st, hurricane season officially begins. And if you know anything about me and my story and my journey, I have trauma around this. I'm going to share that with you guys, but we're going to get into the predictions. We're going to talk about the name, Stacey, because whenever they put these names on there, you're like, oh my God, for sure we're going to get hit by that, right? Just because it's like, there's no other explanation for it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about housing prices. Obviously we've got changing market dynamics that you need to be aware of. We want to get into the weeds on that and fulfill all the promises you saw in the thumbnail there. So I want to introduce you to Miss Stacey Amon, who is she is my right-hand lady, is the best way I could explain that in terms of our real estate practice. She is incredible. She lives up in Pasco County in Wesley Chapel, as a matter of fact. And we call her the queen of new construction because she absolutely sells a ton of new houses. But good evening, Stacey. I wanted to say hello.
Good evening. Happy Tuesday, everyone.
Happy Tuesday. It is a Taco Tuesday, and in honor of fresh bottle of Topo Chico here that I've almost drank. And I'm drinking this in my home office at Casa de Alcalá. So I am so excited to be back in the house here. If it sounds weird or it doesn't look normal, it's definitely not all put together, but we're back in it, baby. So excited to be here. We've officially moved out of the honeymoon suite on the front lawn. It is still on the lawn because we've got so much stuff to move in the house still, but welcome. And if you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, that's okay. Join the conversation. You'll start to come up to speed. We invite you to engage with us. All right. So the content that we provide is a lot of questions through our YouTube channel, specifically questions that our clients ask and questions that you, the viewers that join us on these Tuesday night Tampa Bay Q&A lives. We try to bring you as much information as we possibly can. We're going to talk about everything from roads to new restaurants opening, of course, real estate, and then what is happening in and around town. So we try to make this as interactive as possible. Feel free to ask questions. We love to know where you're watching from. So put that in the chat as well. You can see people have already started contributing. We've got Kevin over in Lakeland. Shout out to my brother, Kevin. And thank you for the email too. I realized that I had not responded to his email. Sent me a great Memorial Day email. So thank you, brother. Appreciate you. We got Miss Jane, who's relocating from San Diego all the way out here to Florida. And it sounds like they are in full bloom here, right? So she says, hello, everyone, packing up and movers are finally done. House will be on the market in June 9th and we'll be staying in a hotel until we sell our house. Can't wait for the long drive to Florida. Well, we're excited to have you, Miss Jane. That's going to be exciting. I talked to a gentleman in San Diego right before I got on the call with you guys. So good to see you. We've got Zach up in Boston. Good evening, Zach. Good to be with you, my friend. And then we've got Rainy Moon Kitchen. That's an interesting one. Stacey, have we ever spoke to Rainy Moon Kitchen before?
No, this is a newbie.
Welcome. Yeah. And Rainy Moon Kitchen is saying hello from San Key. So we got a local. Thanks for joining. We appreciate that, of course. And then we've got Miss Desiree giving us a shout out here. Happy Taco Tuesday to you, my dear. I'm happy to be with you as well. So y'all, we're in for some fun stuff tonight. I'm excited to get into that with you guys. Like I said, feel free to make it as interactive as possible. We love connecting with you guys. So shout out to that. Let me try this. Looks like they're going to go live with the comments here. So we'll bring them in as they come along here. Excited to see how this rolls. Oh, there you go. Happy Taco Tuesday. Love that. All right, cool. Let's get into this. Oh, let's say hello to everybody else who popped in right before we get to our first story here, which we're going to get right into the hurricane business, Stacey. We got to talk about this because, like, as you guys know, if you followed my story at all, I've been out of the house for a little over about 7 months, because we stayed in the house for 2 weeks after the hurricane, trying to like figure out whether we were going to tear it apart or we had to tear it apart, and then ended up having to do that. And then we've been rebuilding the house. We launched another video this weekend where Kate joined me, and we just talked about where we are in the process. And we're pretty close. I would say we're probably about 95% of the way done, but we're doing those final details of just buttoning up the house. So it's pretty cool to have those conversations and to be at that point for sure. Got my brother Chris Rayner in the house, watching from LinkedIn. Hello, my brother out in Reno. Sky Vibe, good evening. Good evening from Vermont, looking to possibly make the move within the next 2 years. Shout out to Mike. Pleasure to meet you, sir. Thanks for joining.
He's a newbie too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love when we get the new faces here in the group and the community. And also, just so you guys know, Abby and Brian, locals here. Well, they're about to be local. They're about to move here to Florida from Indianapolis. They wanted to personally let the community know that they were sorry they couldn't make it tonight, but they're officially packing up the house so they can get down here next week.
Yeah, they are on a time crunch.
They are. So
they got to get it done.
They're making the full move. And shout out to you, Mike. Pleasure to make the connection here. Miss Kate, good evening. She says, hello from Lando Lakes. Moved our family of 5 from Philly 3 years ago. One of the best decisions we've ever made. Shout out to you. And I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Fabian, what's up, man? Hello from Chicago. We had to turn the furnace back on here. So excited to be in Tampa in June. I know all about that this past weekend. We have family in Metro Detroit still. Of course, that's where all of our family is from. We sent the kids back up last weekend with grandma, because grandma came down to help us to put the house back together. They arrived for holiday weekend and it was 51 degrees, raining and gray. Stacey, the real feel was 41 degrees on Friday of Monday.
And it's almost June.
I was like, at this rate, you'll be in the water in July. All right. That's wild. Meanwhile, my pool is a really nice temperature of like 82 degrees. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's been pretty toasty.
Hey, who's rubbing it in? Shout out to you, Fabian. And love that name too. My one, that's child abuse. Yeah, the kids might think they love their grandparents, so they're willing to suffer through that. But I'm not. That's why we're not up there. But I'm with you on that. All right, let's get into what's happening here. So if you are not from Florida, if you guys are not local, it is the official kickoff of hurricane season 2025. And the crowd goes wild, right? No, not really. But we got to talk about it because this is real life. If you're going to live in Florida, actually anywhere on the Atlantic side and in the Gulf, right? This is a reality for people, obviously all the way down into Mexico, Cancun, Texas, Houston has been flooded 3 times in the last decade, Louisiana, Alabama, and then all the way up to New York, where they've had hurricanes in November, by the way. So that is wild when you think about, was that Sandy? I think that was Hurricane Sandy that flooded New York. I could be wrong on that, but if you guys are up there, let me know in the comments because I can't remember exactly what hurricane was. That was a long time ago. But NOAA has officially released their prediction, and as of May 15th, the middle of this month, they start officially tracking what's going on in the Atlantic. So we're all kind of, Dennis is getting his rules together, and Mike's already given us some details on what's going on. And the predictions come every year. Since I've moved to Florida, Stacey, this is my 7th summer here, and every year it's always been, this is going to be an above average. Now I don't know what that means because all I've seen is the last 7 years, right? And three of the last 6 of them we have had to evacuate. Now, twice the family was out of town, once the family was out of town, so they just stayed out of town, and 2 times we evacuated, including last year. And shout out to Desiree. She says that was Sandy. Yep. And I thought, so it was 2012 or something. It was a little while ago. But we evacuated, and last year, if you guys, if you recall, my home was flooded. Now, my home was not flooded from storm surge from the hurricanes. Okay. And it got flooded during Hurricane Milton. It was flooded because of rainwater and saturation in the ground. And I can go on and on and on about it, but we ended up getting wet. And when I say flooded, it's not like the beaches where people had 4 feet of water. I had 1 inch probably in some spots and maybe 1/4 inch in others, just enough screw everything up, basically, is what it boiled down to. So we've spent the last 7 months renovating the house, making the repairs, and then we went into full renovation. We'll give you guys a complete home tour once the house is done, because we've done Kate's done a wonderful job of putting this place back together. But excited to share that journey with you guys. But the reality of living in paradise is there is a cost, right? And there are some things that you need to be aware of if you're going to move to Florida, that you definitely want to be aware of. And, make sure that you're on top of things, right, when it comes to living in the area here. So we want to get into these numbers with you guys and what they're talking about here. So NOAA's outlook for the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season, which goes from June 1st through November 30th, predicts a 30% chance of a near normal season, a 60% chance of above normal season, and a 10% chance of a below normal season. What does that all mean? Good luck. God bless. Make sure you say your prayers. But that's basically the only way I look at this anymore, right? It's like, we'll deal with whatever comes. All right. Now, the agency is forecasting a range of 13 to 19 total named storms, which includes winds of 39 miles an hour or higher. Of those, 6 to 10 are forecasted to become hurricanes with winds of 74 miles an hour or more, and 3 to 5 are major hurricanes. So just kind of sharing this with you guys. Now, all that's great. Let's get into the names, because this is where it actually gets fun. At least we get something fun out of this, right? And Stacey, these names are always like, every time I read them, I'm like, why? Why did you do that? Like, you're just guaranteeing disaster somewhere. Right? So let's get into these names. And y'all, they do is they work through them alphabetically. And if they have to get more, they'll go back and grab more names, but they'll repeat the process, right? So like, that's where they typically get into those Greek names and Latin names that they get in from time to time. So it's wild when you think about this. So, it's just one of those things we got to deal with. And I try to I'm making light of it because I don't know any other way to do it at this point, right? My life was directly impacted along with thousands of others. So it's not Crimea River. It's just the reality of living where we live. We decided we want to live near the beach. Stacey decided she wanted to live in Wesley Chapel. One of us got wet, right?
And I've never had to evacuate.
Yes.
Wesley Chapel.
What does that say, right? What does that say? There was an exchange made, and we paid the price for it. So that's the reality of it. All right. Love this. So Rainy Moon Kitchen says, it's crazy. He was born in Morton Plant Hospital in 1978. So shout out to you. I'm your senior by 1 year. I was born in 77. 2024 was the first time I witnessed flooding. I agree with the American Constellation. Who said, I must have missed it. I lived here by Clearwater for 67 years. I'm still alive. Amen. We're with you on that. And I think your son just moved down here too, if I remember correctly. They always tell you it's above normal season. Don't listen to exactly. So like I said, I'm not here to make light of it, y'all. I'm just here to recognize this is the normal pattern. Once you live in Florida, this is what you hear regularly, right? It's going to be an above average season. And I think that American Constellation said it best. Make sure you're prepared, right? So we'll kind of talk about that here a little bit as well, but we're going to get into some fun stuff tonight, I promise. But the names, I think, is a great place to start on this, right? So Hurricane Andrea is going to be the first participant of any named storm. And then you look at these names. Dexter? Really, Stacey? Right? And I don't know who's in charge of this, y'all, but if you name if the potential name of a hurricane ends up as I realize this is a television show, but it's been one of the longest television shows. If you're naming storms after serial killers, there is a problem here.
Yeah.
Right? Whoever's in charge of this needs to get fired. And I'm not an advocate of people losing their job, but this person, maybe. I'm just kidding, but that is wild. All right. So we've got Ferdinand, Gabriel, or maybe Umberto, Imelda, Jerry, Karen. We have Karen on the list. And if your name is Karen, God bless you, I love you, but we all know the joke, right? So like, it's not your fault. It's someone else's fault. It's probably the same person that named Dexter, right? So like that person, you got to go. Lorenzo, Melissa, Olga, Pablo. I mean, most famous Pablo in the world is drug dealer. So I guess there's a chance on that one too. Sebastian, Rebecca, Tanya, Van, and Wendy. All right. So some pretty interesting names, right? If I had to put money on this, I'm going with Dexter, Karen, and Rebecca. And Rebecca is a personal thing for me. So
what about Wendy? Like Hurricane Wendy?
Wendy's that's pretty legit. I mean, again, I'm not here to judge your opinion. Guys, let us know in the chat who you think the name, like the big storms will be. So they said 3 to 5 major hurricanes. If you had to guess what name was associated with a major hurricane, category 3 or above, whose name is going to be associated with it? Let us know in the chat. I can't wait to see what you guys say. Oh, love this, right? Nick says Hurricane Karen wants to see the manager. Nick, you win the comment challenge tonight. If you were near me, buddy, I'd buy you a taco. Because that's fabulous already. I love that. That's awesome. Okay. That's fantastic. So I thought these names were intriguing, just in terms of what they were. This is always a little bit fun, but the reality is, we are in the kickoff here of hurricane season 2025, and we do need to take it serious. So the thing that, preparation for hurricanes depends on where you live, right? If you live by the coast and you're in an evacuation zone, make sure you're up to date on the county websites. We've shared those a bunch here in the past. Every county has a hurricane evacuation plan and a map and all those things, which is great. Wonderful. I live in Pinellas County, which is the Clearwater St. Pete area. And we're in a non-flood, non-evacuation zone, but as you're aware, that doesn't always mean anything. But I'm close enough to the water when it gets serious. We've made the decision that we leave, right? I take my guitars and the family and in that particular order. I'm kidding. But we take those things and we go somewhere else, right? That's been the reality of where we got to whenever we've got to a hurricane 3 or above. Okay. So that's kind of how we've rolled. But not everybody leaves, right? So again, Stacey's in Wesley Chapel. She's good, 40 miles off the water, probably 30 or 40 miles as the crow flies. And she's never felt the need to do it. So those things are important to kind of keep track of. I love that. Craig says we got comments here. He's got an Aaron, a Karen, and an Olga. I like that. We got to vote for Olga in the house. Okay, I can see that. Matt says, and shout out to you, Matt. Good evening. Matt says, Aaron and Melissa are my daughters. So what does that mean?
They'll be hell to pay.
I mean, if you're just letting us know, very cool. Are you saying that is normal in your house? I don't know. Help me understand. No, I'm kidding, Matt. That's great. Thanks for sharing, buddy. Gusto says, my wife says that the name should be Gusto. There you go. I don't get it. I'm sure. I'm sure. That's awesome. Rudy, good evening, sir. He says, hi, checking in from New Jersey. If we purchase new construction in Allen Parish, should we be concerned in the next year or so that the home's value is going to go down if I purchase it for today? That is a great question. And Rudy, we're going to get into 2 things today, just so you know. Stacey's going to take us down in the parish. We're going to talk about that. And then I'm going to show actual numbers for real estate and where we're at. All right. So, the answer to your question shall be unveiled as you hang in there tonight. So you guys make sure you stick around. Great question though. And feel free to bring your questions, guys. We're here to take them as we can. That's it. They're going to be famous. No, let's hope they're not. That's not what we're looking for, Matt. We don't need them to be famous. We prefer that not to happen. Well, if those turn into name storms out in the Atlantic and then go away, that's fine. Right. Then your daughters can have their 15 minutes of fame without any damages. So that'd be good. Love that. But that's great. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So, we're poking fun here a little bit at what's going on hurricane. If you guys are just joining us, obviously we keep this as conversational as possible. Welcome. We talk about all things Tampa Bay. My name's Juan Alcalá. I'm joined by Miss Stacey Amon. And we talk all things, right? What's going on here in the city. Feel free to let us know where you're watching from and contribute in the chat because we're going to answer questions live. All right. Stacey, I know you want to, speaking of parish, let's get into this since who was it? Rudy already asked us this question and we can just take you there now, Rudy. So I know you want to talk about this and then we'll get into numbers a little bit. But let's get into the new development that hit your radar that you want to talk about tonight, Stacey.
Yeah, so last week I was out in Parish showing some clients around some new construction homes, and we went out to a community called Rye Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
And it did feel like you were going out a little bit into Never Land because there wasn't a whole lot there. But this community is going to be amazing. Like it's going to be great because there's a nature preserve right down the street. So you're going to have like 10 plus miles of nature trails.
Yep.
They're also going to have several green spaces. I liked it because I felt like the community was going to be, there's just going to be a lot of nature around it, which I think sometimes it can, clients come and visit, and that's kind of discouraging sometimes to see some of the communities that are just house after house.
Yep.
So I think this will be a really cool community. But they're going to have a few amenity centers. They're going to have swimming pools and splash pads, and the whole, there's going to be tons of development on Bry Road and County Road. So there's plans for shopping and restaurants. So all the growth is headed that way. There's going to be an elementary school and youth sports fields out there as well.
Oh, wow. So they're going all the way out there, huh?
Yep. So there's going to be several builders. They haven't announced all of them yet. Currently, Lennar is out there building, and D.R. Horton just opened up a few months ago. And I was just really impressed with what D.R. Horton was offering out there.
So looks like right now this is the specifically that is available currently. So 232 home sites. There are 220 available, 8 spec homes. That means they've already built them. 4 models, and they've already sold 1 property here. We'll, obviously we'll help you guys with some of the details here, but I love when they build these interactive maps so you can kind of see what's happening around you. It's a really nice touch, right? And like what else is going on in the area here? You got shopping close by, a lot of things that really come into this. Now, I love let me go back to the map really quick. So this is something I want to talk about, right? And we've spent and in Bradenton as well, just so you guys kind of know what's going on here. And this is really the beginning of, you got Lake Manatee to the south. So let me zoom out. I know I'm moving this map pretty quick here. This is Lake Manatee. So you guys are all aware. Okay. And then that ties into the Manatee River, which, I'm going to make a really bad version of this, but as you start to get out here, it ties into Fort Hammer Park, which we've featured on this channel before. Fort Hammer Park is beautiful. It's absolutely stunning, right off 301 there, and Fort Hammer Road ties in there. You can take 301 all the way up to Wesley Chapel, all the way up into San Antonio and Dade City, where Stacey is. It falls on the east side of the city there. It's great, but the Manatee River is beautiful. I mean, great place to fish, kayak, paddleboard, and then you get out here and then you can get all the way out into the Gulf. So it's a really, really nice area. And there's a lot of really nice natural things to take advantage of, like Rye Preserve, like Stacey was talking about out here. But this is just a beautiful area in general. It is a very old Florida vibe. Lots of land and not as developed, but it's coming out there. And you're only 20 minutes away from things like Ellington outlets and things like that. So like it's still very accessible to stuff. So for those of you who are like, hey, I want more space, I don't necessarily want to be on top of other people, this is a great area to kind of check out.
For sure.
Right. So I thought love that. Okay, cool. Let's get back into the amenities. Where do I need to go on the site, Stacey?
It was the very first link I put on there.
Let me find it.
Are you at the website?
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna go back to it. I don't want to bounce back and forth. There we go. All right. So here's the amenities, features and amenities that we were looking at here. Outdoor moments. So this is the Grange is what they're calling this. So they got lawn games for all ages, the information center, shaded outdoor seating, and a neighborhood park all in one spot. So like there's gonna be a cafe in there too, huh?
Yeah, that'd be really nice.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And then how many pools are supposed to be out there?
I think he said 3.
Okay.
I haven't seen actual, like on the map, how many. And since he didn't know how many builders were going out there, because they haven't announced all of them yet. You know, some builders sometimes have their own little section with a private pool.
Yep.
So not really sure on that yet.
Okay. But a new development coming to the parish area, definitely worth checking out. Love that. So thanks for bringing that to us, Stacey. And then, Rudy asked a question. I want to get back to that really quick. He asked a question about, real estate specific and prices. And I'll give you, let's get into some numbers here real quick. And then I've got some other things to share with you guys that I think you're going to love. Feel free to ask questions as we go along with this. Again, our goal here is not to talk at people, but just share what's going on in the area. We got some road projects we want to talk about tonight as well. It's just some really cool stuff happening in Tampa that we want to share. All right. So this is the latest market data that we have from our MLS, which is the multiple listing service. This comes directly from the real estate numbers here. This was just released 2 days ago. These numbers are for April, even though we were in May. But as we've discussed before, numbers don't come out until the last week of the month. Okay, so you've got the previous month's numbers that come out there. But this is a breakdown of what's been happening here locally in Tampa Bay. Make these numbers as big as I possibly can, Stacey, because I know they show up small on TV here. There we go. That's probably good. So this is accounting for 4 counties inside of Tampa. These numbers, I don't love these, but I think it's fair to give a greater Tampa Bay view rather than local stuff sometimes. And then we break down the locals too. We'll get into parish specifically and things like that. But this also includes Hernando County, which is, Spring Hill area. And to be quite honest with you, it lives like an entirely separate area, right? It's not necessarily Tampa Bay. It does tie in a little bit, but all of greater Hernando County, most people would say you're not in Tampa Bay, just like Sarasota. Okay, so just kind of give you that insight there. But it does pull us into there. The median sales price as of April 2025 is $400,000. That's down from $417,800. So down 4.3% year over year. Okay, so the median is the middle of the activity. The average sales price takes into account the high and the low. It doesn't throw those out as well. That's down almost 7%, down from 537 to 500. Okay. What we are seeing right now, Rudy, is continued downward pressure because of new construction. All right. That's the important thing to understand. If we didn't have new home sales in the Tampa Bay area, our home prices would look like they do up in the Northeast. It would look like New Jersey. They would look like Boston because they're not building homes, not nearly as fast as they need to. Texas, Arizona, and Florida have built more homes in the last 5 years than any place else in the country. So we've had this downward pressure on pricing because affordability has been an issue, right? And we've discussed that, and I can get into numbers with you guys here too, but we're down 4%. I'm going to show you the trend here so you guys can kind of take this into account. What we are seeing right now in the marketplace, right? For like, we're writing offers with our clients who are moving to the area or homeowners who are here and moving. I'm going to make this super clear. The last 3 homes that we have sold, okay, that I have sold, every one of those sold over asking. Okay, I got over asking price, including the one we sold just last week, right? But the sellers positioned that in a way which was an aggressive pricing strategy, which allowed us to get multiple offers and drive up the price. Okay, anyone who's asking aspirational pricing in the greater Tampa Bay area, if you don't have a great house in a good neighborhood, they are getting beat up. That's the best way I can put it, right? Like, there are some deals to be had. And I don't mean 2008, y'all. We're not there, right? A $17,800 discount on a $417,000 house is not 2008. Okay, so don't think that we're there. But you are definitely seeing downward pressure on pricing, and we are seeing pricing adjust, right? So keep that in mind. And this has to do with 7% interest rates and affordability. That's the reality of it. This had to come to roost at some point, and it is now. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Our median time to contract went from 28 days in 2024 to 33 days. So we're still selling, Stacey, the average home in 4 counties, 3.5 million people, is still going under contract in 33 days. So that's moving pretty good, right? It's moving pretty good. Something to take note of. But Inventory is continuing to rise. So new listings are up 10%. That is something to take note of. New pending sales are down. Overall sales in the United States are the lowest they've been in 3 years. And then our inventory is continuing to climb. Now, this is important to note. We'll get more into detail here in a second. But for everybody who doesn't nerd out on real estate numbers like I do, 5.5 months is what's considered a balanced market. You would think it's 6, but at that point, it becomes an upper hand towards the buyer. Okay. Now, why do I share that? Stacey and I have been telling all of you that we're in a buyer's market. These numbers say that that's not necessarily true, but what we see in the marketplace, especially in new construction, is they are dealing. And we've shared with you guys all the price. Stacey's been getting ridiculous deals for our clients. Closing costs paid for, new roofs on houses, like all people are wheeling and dealing to make things happen. Are they giving $100,000 discount on houses that are $400,000? No, that's not reality, right? Are we seeing $100,000 adjustments on $1 million properties? Yep. Right. So keep that in mind. And I'm going to get into the weeds here a little bit with you guys, but I love the fact that our audience is dialed in. So this is why I'm sharing that with you guys. Okay. I want to say hello before we move any further here. We've got Angela Milano from Austin, Texas. Good evening. Good to see you. I'm a nurse, so we need to be close to probably Tampa General. Love it. Condos, townhouses. Around what price? Something in the 200s. Right by Tampa General. Not exactly, but they're in the market, but not right by the hospital there. That's where Tampa General is some of the most expensive real estate we have in all of Tampa Bay. So definitely want to keep. But we'll get into that. Vlad, what's up, my man? Good to see you. Good to see you. I love that he's on his way down. B said, at least you're honest, Juan. Others saying up and up. Well, again, this is very local. We're looking at 4 counties. I can show you specific data of neighborhoods and areas that are up. There's no doubt about that. But we're talking very general right now. So, but happy to share the truth, right? Data doesn't lie. It doesn't have an opinion. It just is, right? It's one of my favorite things. Okay, perfect. CK says, hello, everyone. Hello. Good to see that. Okay, let's get back into these numbers. All right, so year to date, okay, this is the amount of closed sales. And as you can see here, this has been a weird thing, Stacey, and we saw this all winter long. January was up 7.9%. This is the amount of sales, not the prices. Okay. So January was up. We had a big boom of people buying in January. And then they took the entire month of February off. Right? That going from 8% to down 5%, that's a 13-point delta, right? Like that's a big gap. And then the following month, everybody came back. We were up 6.1%. And then in April, it was down 2%. Now, that's important to know because April and May and June are typically the 3 strongest months of home sales and home closings in the United States. And it's still the same here in Florida too. So seeing that down, again, it shows more downward pressure. So this is something you guys want to be watching. Okay. Now I want to get into, this is cash sales. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to go quick. I'll slow down, I promise, on the things that matter most. Here's where we get into sales price. Okay. And this is the other thing I want to show you. So this is the actual price that homes are selling for. There's a difference between home values and home prices. Okay. Value is what you're appraised at or what the bank tells you your home is worth, right? It's an arbitrary number until you sell. Once you sell, you're going to have a sales price. And then that's the reality, right? So the sales price was 400 in April. It was also 400 in March. Okay. So as you guys look at this, you go, okay, well, like there's really no change there, but there was the negative number you see here is year over year, month over month. Okay. And then you were 399, 394. Back in December is 410. So there's been this adjustment. We've been hovering around this $400,000 watermark here for the better part of a good year, right? I know you can see some numbers fluctuated, but like, you know, last June we were up to 425. But for the most part, we've been hanging around $400,000, give or take, right? A percent for the last year, essentially. So that's what I want you guys to be aware of on that. Okay. Now, the average sales price, remember the median's the middle of the activity. The average takes into account the big sales and the small sales. You can see the numbers there. We tend to see most clients buying somewhere around this number, right? Unless you're buying new construction and one of the smaller homes, and you can absolutely be closer to that 400 number all day, just so you guys know. But our clients on average, our sales number literally for our clients buying here is 527. So that we're like right in line with that, just so you guys know. Okay. I won't worry about dollar volume. That's the total number of sales. Let's talk about time to contract. This is what I wanted to talk about, right? So like the good thing to note here, Stacey, is like, since January, the days on market have actually receded. Okay. So like they're still selling in just over a month. The average home is selling in over a month. That's a good thing. Well, to get to contract, let me rephrase that. Sales are taking twice as long, but that's normal. Okay. Time to sale is what you saw there. All right. What is this one? New pending sales. This means how many homes have gone under contract. Well, we're down 1.9% year over year, 3,800 homes. All right. Where else are we on this? What else do I want you to know? New listings. And here's what we're going to get in the weeds really quick here in a second, because I think this is super important for you guys to take note of if you're going to be buying. This is what we're focused on as a team when we're helping our buyers. This is what we bring to our sellers when we're trying to help them like get a real price strategy so they don't make a mistake and then have to chase the market down, right? And this is where things start to really take note. All right. The number of new listings is increasing. So in January, it was up 19%. It was down in February, 4%, 15% up in March, and 10% up in April. 5,500 new listings, almost 5,600 new listings came to the market. Okay. Now, active listings, meaning how many homes are actually on the market for sale today? This is the number. Okay. As you can see, we have been up double digits forever, right? 37% in January, 33, 37, 37, again, almost 39%. 13,000 new listings come to the market. Okay. Now, here's where things really start to, we need to really stay focused on. So our months of inventory. Now, what does this mean when I talk about this months of inventory? Stacey, right? Just so I remember the first time I heard this, I'm like, what are you talking about? If they didn't list a single new home from this day forward, what this means is in 4.2 months, we would sell through every single home in the Tampa Bay area based on today's sales velocity. Okay. That's what that means. Now, 4.2 months, again, technically it's still a seller's market, and you're seeing some of those traits, 33 days to get a contract. Like that's kind of normal, right? But this number is steadily increasing, and that's what I want you guys to pay attention to. It was 3.5 in December, 3.7 in January, 3.8 in March, 3.9 in March, 4.2 in April. What is this going to be in May? We don't know yet, right? But what we're seeing is that number is still continuing to increase, and this is important to keep focused on. All right. All right. Now I want to get into the real magic. Why do we care about numbers like this? Well, when we're representing you guys, or if I'm buying a home, I want to know where the opportunities are. Okay. So this is where things are really going to start to get interesting. Okay. This is closed sales by sales price. All right. And what this shows us is the percentage of homes that sold in a specific price bracket. Okay. Why is that important? Well, if you're looking for opportunities to get a great deal, to negotiate a heck of a deal, you want to look at areas that have a higher number of inventory coming in the market. Hopefully that fits your buy box, if you will. Like, okay, I'm looking for a home that's $400,000 to $600,000. Well, 1,000 of those sold, but that's down 10% year over year. Oh, there might be an opportunity there. Well, how do I know if there's an opportunity? Well, now the next thing I want to see is the listing inventory. Is there more inventory in that space? Right? Because Stacey, if there's less inventory, then that means that number is actually going to go the other way. Right? But if there's more inventory coming to the market, that means there's more competition for the buyer pool that's there, which means there's probably going to be more downward pricing in that specific category. Right? So this 300 to 399, that is what we consider very affordable here in Tampa. I know I'm not arguing whether it is or it isn't affordable, but based upon our market, remember, our median home sale is $400,000. So anything below that technically is a good value, right? It's a value buy. So we look at this. So now let's go down and look at the inventory. So this is median time contract by sales price. Okay, so this shows us how long those homes are sitting on the market. This is another one of those considerations I want to take. And then I'm going to go down to new listings by initial price. This is what I was talking about, Stacey. So that same exact category, $400,000 to $600,000, put 1,800 new listings into the market. It's up 8.2%. and they're down 10% in sales. That's an 18% swing between the two sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
This phase right here. So this 400 to 600,000 and 600 to $1 million. This is where the biggest opportunities are available to you as a home buyer right now. This is where the most downward pressure is occurring. Stacey, we're seeing it with new construction, right? This is where the most deals are coming from, right? They're throwing everything in the kitchen sink, right? They're even throwing in pools now, right? So like, y'all, to put in a new pool on a house, we've shared those numbers in here before. They're gaudy, typically in the range of 125,000 or more, right? And you're starting to see those being included in new home sales. So that is wild when we see that. So when I'm looking at this information, and I know I'm nerding out, y'all, just bear with me here, right? But you have to, the best thing for us to do is look where are the best opportunities. So what I'm seeing here, going back to Rudy's question, and Rudy's like, Juan, you got a mouthful. I'm with you, brother. But here's what I need you to know. The best opportunities right now in Tampa to win a deal, okay, is to get something between 400 and $1 million. That's the reality of it. Really what we're seeing the most pressure is that 500 to 750 or 800, right? They don't have that bracket on here, but that's where we're seeing the most pressure. Is that fair to say, Stacey?
Yes.
Okay. So that is where, if you're looking for opportunities, and I know you say, well, that's a heavy price. Well, yes, but you haven't negotiated. You haven't had discussions about interest rates because that matters tremendously. Listen, buying a $600,000 home at 7% interest rate, which is what today's rate is, versus buying a $700,000 or $600,000 home at a 5% or a 4.5% feels entirely different on your monthly mortgage payment. Entirely different. You're talking about almost $600 difference every month. It's a lot. Okay. And the higher that number, obviously, the bigger the spread there. So this is something that I really want to focus on with everybody here. It's just like, where's the opportunity in our marketplace? Well, this is where we're seeing it. That 400 to $1 million. If you're considering buying somewhere in that range, this is where you want to look right now. Okay. Because that's the best opportunities. Okay. And here's the inventory by those current prices as well. And you guys are going to see the reality of it. Right. So here you go. The most inventory in our marketplace, Stacey, is 400 to 600. Right. Then you've got the 300 to 399. There's a ton of new construction in that 3 to 4 bedroom range on that smaller end. That's why you're seeing that. And then the smaller, older homes in Tampa and St. Pete kind of hit that box too. So that's why that inventory is there. But that inventory is moving, right? So like that's why there wasn't as big as opportunity, because they're selling a lot of those. But these aren't moving as fast. So that's where you're seeing a lot of opportunity in the marketplace. Okay. Now, this is something I want to show you guys too. Monthly distressed. What is distressed? This means homes that are either in foreclosure, real estate owned, or short sale. And I always like to show this to everybody, because this is where the reality of this is not 2008 starts to really sink in for people, right? In April of 2024, there were 23 foreclosures. Now, y'all, I want to remind you, Tampa Bay has 3.35 million residents. Okay. So last year, there were 23 foreclosed homes in the month of April. This year, there were only 18. Okay. 18 foreclosures for 3.3 million people means nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. This is nothing like 08. Short sales. Now, what's a short sale? A short sale is someone selling a home for less than they owe. Okay. And then they go to the bank and they try to negotiate this. There was 3 of them in 2024. There were 8. But between the two categories here, you got 26 opportunities for 3.35 million individuals. So not a whole lot of love there. But again, sharing with you guys what we actually see in the marketplace, which I think is relevant data regarding where the sales are. I'm not getting into condos because that's a whole nother world. But I think it's really important to share that kind of information with pricing on what's going on in the marketplace. And hopefully that helps a little bit, Rudy. Now, we got to get in the weeds to specific neighborhoods, specific communities, what you're trying to accomplish before we would ever give any guidance. Just blind numbers aren't the way to go. But here's the reality. There is downward pressure on pricing in all of Tampa Bay. But if you live in an A neighborhood and you've got an A property, it's still going to sell and it's going to sell fast. Are you going to sell for 2021 prices? The answer to that is no. That's not realistic. But can you still sell it and do really well? Of course. Okay. That's the reality of what's happening in our marketplace. So I hope that helps answer a little bit. I know I got in the weeds pretty deep there, y'all. Forgive me, but I love studying this. And the reason that we get deep here is because we don't approach this as like, hey, once somebody comes to us and wants our representation, the idea of just selling somebody a home goes out the window, right, Stacey? Like we say this on every call with all of our clients. You're the hero of the journey, and we're going to treat you just like we treat our families. Like I'm always looking for the best value too, right? I want what I want, but I want the best value for it, right? I want a fair price for the thing that I'm getting. The question is, what does that look like for you? So we really need to know what that scenario is. So if you want to connect with us, Rudy, we're happy to have those conversations so we can point you in the right direction. Go to our website. You can see it on the screen there, but we'll put it in the chat and you can just literally schedule a call with us. And if you want to meet with Stacey specifically, because that's her backyard, she knows Parrish and Wesley Chapel, like Lakewood Ranch, she's all over the place, but just put it in the notes there and I'll make sure you get connected to her directly. Because she's the rock star when it comes to this stuff, and she's willing to deal. And I mean, Stacey, what are you seeing in real time? I mean, you signed what, 2 contracts last week? Like, what's happening out there in the marketplace?
Well, we've been saying for a long time, builders are giving such great incentives, and I think that they're giving even more incentives now with price cuts, and they're throwing some extras in there like appliances, blinds. Because builders don't really want to cut the price too much because that then affects future sales for them. Yeah. So they try to wheel and deal on other things to make it more enticing.
Yeah, the incentive.
And then the resale market is really tough right now. But like you said, for an A property, meaning a home that has been updated, has an updated kitchen and updated bathrooms, those are going pretty quickly.
And a good roof.
And a good roof. Yeah.
And a good roof. That's important.
Yeah. So, sometimes people think, oh, it's been on the market, 40 days. That's nothing. 40 days is not bad.
That's actually normal, right? Like prior to the pandemic, that was very normal. 2 months when we moved here, Stacey, and we took possession in November of 2018 of our property. This home had sat on the market for 63 days. Mm-hmm. And the average home was selling in Tampa Bay in about 48 days. And that was a very, it was a strong market then. Yeah. Right. But that was considered normal. And that is normal, y'all. Just so you know, homes aren't supposed to sell in 3 days normally. But I think that's good feedback. Right. In terms of what's going on out there in the real world. Well, this Rainy Moon Kitchen says short sale, most misnamed phenomenon in real estate. That's fair. That's fair, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, the buyer, the home buyer is short, right? So that's where that came into play. But that is not an inaccurate statement that you made there. So I agree. Love it. GB Grillmaster says, evening both. Great to be able to tune in live from this side of the pond. For a change, Gary B and family. Stacey is so helpful. Fingers crossed for tomorrow. Excited for you guys. He's back in town, right?
Yep. They're staying in Airbnb. We've been searching for some nice properties for the family, and we found one that checked all the boxes. The wife and kids are super excited about it. So we have got to get this property or we're going to disappoint a lot of people. Okay.
Let's do it. And Gary, I need to connect with you, man. I'll bring Stella so the family can meet. Gary's got a Doberman too. So we've got Dober twins. And we tried to connect last time, but we couldn't make it happen.
He's not here yet though.
Oh, he's not? Oh, okay. All right. I got it.
They're waiting to move in first.
Awesome. Understood. Okay, cool. He says, if the house is on the market for 2 weeks and no offer, is it best to still wait 1 month and then lower the asking price? Jane, as much as I would love to sit here and tell you there's a set thing on that, without knowing the specific property, the amenities, the commute. I'm not helping anything. I'm just making a mess for you and your agent because I don't know your market like that. I will say from a strategic perspective, it really matters on what you're trying to accomplish, right? Like there's no one way to do a thing. I mean, like if you want a house to go fast, go auction. Like, and I don't mean like necessarily put it in an auction house, but like you can set auction pricing. It's very rare to see it, but like that's the fastest way to make a house go away, right? And you can get really good return on that when you do it, but most people don't have the stones, if you will.
Right? That'd be a little bit stressful.
Yep, most people don't have, and that's okay. I understand that. I'm not saying that's a strategy that anybody should employ, but you can. So when it comes to that, what I would say is your agent that you met with, I'm assuming they gave you just great information on where the market actually is, right? And hopefully you guys picked a strategy. If you're trying to move it quickly, then you should have picked a strategy that was fairly aggressive on pricing. And if you need to move it quickly, then I would say that take that into consideration. But if the average home in your market isn't selling for 2 months, I wouldn't freak out after 2 weeks. Right? Because again, it's the data saying that it's going to take you 2 months to do it. Okay. So again, I don't know. I just don't want to make any mistakes and put you in harm's way. I want the best for you. Right. So I'm assuming you got great counsel. You're a sharp woman. So I just want to make sure you guys are in the best possible hands. But when you get here, we'll talk Florida real estate. I got you. All right. We can do that all day long. We got you covered on that. Gary says every box and more. Love that. Awesome. Okay. That's good. All right. I got some other stuff here, Stacey, that I wanted to cover. Florida is, of course, back in it. There's so much stuff happening right now, guys. I'm going to have like a whole news breakdown for you guys one day because the governor is still all over property taxes. That's a whole nother conversation. And until anything really shakes out, and then I'm a little apprehensive just to share that, but we got to keep our eye on it because if that becomes a reality, Rudy, everything I said about pricing, out the door. Out the door. All right. Now, what I'm about to share with you guys now, Florida's back in the news for a really good thing I want to share with you guys. News. I share this annually, typically. And every year, U.S. News ranks the best states, and they give a breakdown of what they are, right? So I want to share this with you guys. This year, we moved from number 9 last year in 2023 in 2024 up to number 6 in 2025. So we're ranked the 6th best state to move into in the United States. And let me try to zoom in on this a little bit, show you guys why, show you who's above us too. But we ranked number 13 in crime and corrections, number 2 in education again, Stacey, for the 3rd straight year, which I think is awesome. We also ranked number 21 in healthcare, number 12 in natural environment, number 1 economy. Right. This is the biggest driver we see people moving here is opportunity. Right. Opportunity and lifestyle. Those are the biggest reasons why our clients move here. Number 9, fiscal stability. The state has a surplus, our infrastructure, and number 47, opportunity. So that's why we made it on this list. Now, the states above us, you're wondering who beat us out. I've got some arguments here, but hey, I'm gonna rock with this, and I'm glad that we made our way up. Nebraska. You couldn't pay me to move to Nebraska. Love y'all, but it ain't happening. That's not a thing for me. I'll take hurricanes over tornadoes any day of the week, number 1, and also over that cold winter weather. I'm not interested in it. But Nebraska made number 5. We've got number 4 is Minnesota. Number 3 is Idaho. Number 2 is New Hampshire. I didn't see that coming. And number 1 is Utah, who they also played. I think they were number 2 or number 1 last year as well. So Utah's growing like crazy, y'all. They're growing out there too. They got a strong economy, strong education. Also, their healthcare is good and their infrastructure is great. So that's been driving people there. Just something to like kind of keep in mind as we go through that stuff. But I want to get into, they gave some specific and the overall rankings. I wanted to talk about that too. So as we get into that, we just walked through the numbers here, but overall, the state is great. And the education thing continues to shock people, Stacey. This is the thing I really wanted to talk about with this, because we still we'll show up on a Zoom call and people are like, I'm so worried about the education. And I'm like, we rank really high in education. I know that sounds crazy. Now, I know the rankings are also wild. right? It's a very subjective thing to me as far as I'm concerned. But the reality is we live in a state that is school of choice. So we have some excellent schools here. We have excellent charter school opportunities. We have excellent STEM programs and magnet schools and all kinds of different things that you can plug your children into. On top of a great homeschool program here as well. The state still requires you to certify, which, you know, so it's not just like running wild. Pro and con on both sides of that. But the reality is, like, you know, you can still get your kids in the collegiate level programs without a problem because of the check-ins, because of the programs that we have available to us. There's a lot of opportunity. And again, this is something that you have to be mindful of. But I will be transparent. Like, you know, we live in a city that our elementary school is a 9 out of 10 that's right behind us, and our high school is a 3 out of 10. Right. But what ends up happening is everybody sends their kids to our elementary school, and then we all send our kids to Madeira middle school and high school. So like they have those educational opportunities, or they go to Seminole. So there's ways to make this work for your family. So I wanted to share that with you guys because I think this is important when we talk about the quality of the area and what we have available to us. Now, when we get into what areas ranked, like they got into cities too on this list. This is a separate article, but on this list from US News, there were 4 cities that ranked in the Tampa Bay area. Palm Harbor, which we love Palm Harbor. If you've never been there before, it's an incredible area, great schools, and it secured the #2 position in the state, which is awesome. Wesley Chapel's been named the best city to live in the state. This just came in as a whole nother news article. Riverview made the list. Okay, Pinellas Park ranked. That kind of shocked me. I did not see that coming. All right, because y'all.
Both of those kind of shocked me, actually.
Yeah, Pinellas Park more of a shock than Riverview, because Riverview does have great schools. And then St. Pete. St. Pete's a gem. I know, you know, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it really is a great place to live. So these are some fascinating things that came about here. You know, I love seeing the trajectory of our city, right, of our state and of our area. It's going in a great direction. While things have slowed down and we're seeing, you know, a correction in real estate across the United States, y'all, this isn't exclusive to us, slowing down across the country. You know, we're still seeing a lot of investment and development here in the Tampa Bay area. So that's a wonderful thing to see, right? In terms of the health of the community, it's great. Craig's got a comment here. What do you say? He says, last time Nebraska beat Florida, anything, Tom Osborne was still head. That's a fact, my man. That's a great comment. Oh, you guys are on a roll tonight. That's good. He says, what exactly does school of choice mean? Oh, this is great. I'm going to let Stacey cover this, Nick. You pick the school and your kid goes regardless of where you live. Does that mean good schools get overwhelmed with students? This is a great question. And they have a system for that. So
yeah.
I'll let Stacey walk you through this here.
Yeah. So there is an application process. If you want to send your child to a school that's outside of like your zone school, you do have to live within the county. It's not like you can send your kid, you know, if you live in Wesley Chapel, send your kid over to a school in Tampa, which is in a different county. So you do have to live within the county and go to a school. But yeah, there is an application process. Some of them, it's just a lottery. Other programs, there are some magnet schools where you actually have to like take a test and get teacher references to be able to be accepted into that program. So it really depends. Like Pasco County has so many different programs. I think they have like 20 different programs in different schools. So that's what's so great about it. Is just because you live in one zoned school doesn't mean you have to go to that school. Like in my situation, my son, we chose to send him to a different school than what my daughters went to, not because the school that my daughters went to wasn't a highly rated school. It just didn't offer him what I felt like he needed, and another program was going to be a better fit for him. So we were able to school choice him into that program, and it's worked out well. And I've been amazed that even though my kids are kind of out of the elementary school and middle school, reading about all the new programs that Pasco County's, you know, bringing to these students is just amazing. So really a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, and a lot of these communities are building brand new schools within the community. Guys, it's wild, and that's why we're continuing to see this increase in the quality of education. Because I don't want to say the quality of resident, but the reality is, when you start moving residents in who are highly educated, that have a focus on education and want to see their children grow, they're not going to settle for anything less. Right. So the people who have moved here have put a lot of pressure on the education system to get better. And I actually really appreciate that about what's happening in the area, because it's been amazing to see the growth. Because when we moved here, that stigma was there, and it was, to be quite honest, it was fair. But just in the last 5 years, I mean, the amount of schools we've added to the Tampa Bay area is nuts, and they're all wonderful. These programs are amazing. Right. It's just amazing. So I'm glad to see that. And I love the fact that you can do that. Where I moved from in Michigan, and it's been a while, y'all. I'm a Floridian now, right? That's the reality of it. But you had to move. The only way you could get your kids in another school was if you had a mail, you had to have a bill that said you live there. That was it. That was the only way you could do it. Or you were going to very expensive private schools. That was the only way it could happen. And here, you can even get vouchers to send. We don't even talk about that stuff sometimes, but you can get a voucher to send your kid to one of these charter schools, right? If you're homeschooling, that's a whole nother conversation, y'all. But you have tax benefits available to you as well. Okay, and I'm not CPA, so I'm not here to get in the weeds on this stuff. But we homeschool. I'm fully aware of what the programs are. Right? State has college programs. Stacey's talked about this before. Stacey, since we're talking about education and we just got in the weeds here a little bit, can you share the college programs that we're talking about?
Yeah, so Florida has a scholarship program called Bright Futures. And if your child, there's 3 different levels. So, and if you meet those requirements, you get your tuition paid for. So the highest level is you have to have a certain GPA, you have to score a certain score on your ACT and SAT, and you do have to have volunteer hours. They make these students volunteer in their community. They have to have over 100 volunteer hours as a senior to qualify for the scholarship. They do even have programs for the trade schools. So I mean, it's really an awesome opportunity. It really is.
There's some great opportunities from education perspective here, y'all. And like I said, we don't lean on a lot of the things like the tax advantages. There's no state income tax here. And from those of you moving from California, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Because they're tired of getting beat up for 13% of their income. It's wild what people get charged around the country for property taxes that are uncapped. And we have a lot of advantages here. Obviously, the weather is incredible. It also has challenges. We started tonight with the reality of that. But we love where we live, and we love the opportunities that provides our family. We wouldn't be here. Stacey's family chose to be here. My family chose to be here. Over 100 of the clients we've served in the last 3.5 years have chose to move here. And it's been a wonderful blessing to a majority of them. Our feedback is always, been great. I'm sure some people have some challenges. We have. That's the reality of it, but we haven't shied away from them. Hello, Sandra. We wanted to say hello to you, and love the wave too. Thank you for that. I love that Danielle snuck in. I love it.
Even in Tampa.
And hopefully you're not sweating too bad. I know it's been warm since you've been here, so I saw you on on Stacey's calendar. I was like, oh yeah, they're getting initiation right now. It's hot.
And you know what? She told me they don't think the traffic's that bad. So you can't believe everything you read on Facebook.
Well, it depends on where you're moving from, right? And that's fair. Again, everybody's perspective is a little bit different on that for sure. Yeah. Jane says we're still paying out-of-state tuition in USF. Can't wait to be Florida resident and pay lower tuition. Amen to that, right? Amen. And lastly, guys, I put how to connect with us in the chat. Obviously, our number's on the screen. That literally takes you to my phone right here if you guys want it. But also, if you guys go to the link that I put in the chat there, that'll take you directly to this site here. Let me share this with y'all. This will take you right to our website. And it's just a few questions. If you guys are considering buying here or selling in the area, if you're local, or if you're considering renting, just fill this out. And this will take you to a link to the team calendar, which includes my calendar as well. And then that'll allow you to connect with us directly. If you want to connect with Stacey directly, make sure that when you get to the portion where you're able to fill it out, right in there, hey, I really want to connect with Stacey. Right. She puts a lot of time and energy into this and into our clients, as you guys have seen in the chat. I mean, it's been a Stacey love fest for the last month, which I appreciate. And I know she does too. But, she's one of the best. And as time progresses this year, I'm going to start introducing you to new team members here that have been with us a while. But like I've shared before, I've been very slow to bring them into our world because we love our community here. We love serving our clients, and I always want to make sure that we've got the right people on the team, and the people we have now have been with us a long enough period of time where I think I can finally introduce them to you comfortably. I've seen them serve enough of our clients, and they're going to get an introduction here. So we'll start to introduce you over time, to those team members. I think the way that I'm going to approach this, Stacey, is I'm going to have them pop in for segments. That way, we're not losing a whole bunch of the vibe we've already put in place. Because Stacey's done a wonderful job of being my co-host here. And I want to honor that, right? Obviously, she's going to have time off and do things with her family too. But I think the best way to get started down this path with introducing you guys to our new community. And I know people are watching right now that have been served by Madison and Sky and Ashley, and that's wonderful. We'll feature them in on here and slowly work our way into having them as a regular guest here on the show. But we're happy and honored to serve you guys. Thank you so much for trusting us, y'all. We've to date we've had 200 scheduled Zoom calls, Stacey. It's not even 6 months into the year.
That's just wild.
Wow. I looked at it yesterday. I was like, wow, 200 scheduled Zoom calls. Now we've had, people reschedule. We've had some cancellations and stuff, but overall it's mind blowing. Right. It's mind blowing. So if you have more questions, if you want to go deeper on a specific area, if you want to talk about pricing strategies, we're here to help. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. Happy to serve. Stacey, any final words before we sign off this evening?
I just enjoy this every Tuesday. I love seeing the same names pop up and having conversation in the community. It's just great. I love it. Absolutely. Thank you for showing up.
Yeah, and you guys rock. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for participating. And when she says showing up, we're talking about literally the contribution, right? So it matters a ton. And hey, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed to the channel, will you please honor us with it? Just hitting that subscribe button. I realize Stacey, 67% of the people who watch our channels are not subscribed. So it would be an honor if you would give us that, or a thumbs up or whatever when you're watching this, and we'll continue to bring the news. I didn't even get into the news articles, y'all, but I'll make sure we get that out to you guys. I'll cut some short form content if I need to, because there's some cool things happening, but we'll get back to them next week if we need to. So with that, we want to leave you guys as always. Shout out to you. CK says, goodbye. Love it. Nick says, thanks guys. You're welcome, Nick. Anytime. Jane says, thanks for all the info. Did I get that? Yeah. Thanks for all the info. And then, Danielle, like and subscribe. Yes, please do. All right, y'all. As always, go out
and live that Tampa life.
Amen. Have a great week. We'll see you.